Hello guys, my name is Gavin, and today will just be a tutorial on pretty much a basic overview of a lot of Python concepts. And I'll be starting off from the beginning with things like printing the console, and then switching to if and else statements, as well as going to for loops temporarily. Then I'll be doing random numbers and random choices, as well as doing lists at the very end. Okay guys, I'm just going to get started. So to start off, what you're going to do is go from defaults to game logic and go from Blender render to Blender game. I'm going to drag this panel in right here and do window and then toggle system console. If you're using a Mac, I don't know how to open the console, and if you're using a Linux computer, just start up Blender from the terminal window. So you'd start up Blender from like this. Okay, now that we have this, what I'm going to do is add an always sensor in our cube and leave these blank for now. Then add a Python controller and connect it like this. Okay. Now that you have this, let's do text and create a text block like this. Hit Control and scroll up on your mouse to make your text larger. And let's put the text icon inside here. And this is the name of your script like this. You can change it, but I'm just going to leave it as this for now. So since the first thing we want to do is actually print to the console, let's do something like print, and let's put just a number for now. So let's do 5. So if I hit P to play, you'll see it's going to print 5 right here, like this. You can also print a word out by putting quotations around it, and let's type out something like word. So if we hit P now, we can see it's going to type out word like this, and essentially what this is right here is this is called a string, and a string is usually a string is essentially just like, a word like inside here. So if you want to put dog, it'll print out dog like this. But if you take away these quotations, it's going to give you an error because dog is going to be defined as equal to a variable. It's looking for a variable named dog in this case. So if you hit enter to put the print line on line 2 and define dog as equal to something like 1 and hit P, you'll see it's going to print 1 to the console because dog is equal to 1. Therefore, when we print dog, it's going to print whatever dog is equal to. If you want to put, one word, and then make this entire line a string. So dog is now the string one word. If we hit P, you can see it's going to print that to the console like this. Okay. If you want to print multiple things, I'll just delete this really quick. You can actually print strings and you can print strings and integers or combine things together. So what we want to do now is print, let's say, number like this. So a string. We're going to put a comma after this, and then put 11 like this. So what this is saying is that we're going to print number a string, we're going to put a comma, and then we're going to put 1 1 like this. So if I hit P, you can see inside the console right here, it's going to print number and then 1 1. You can actually add strings together. So let's have dog is going to be equal to, or actually let's just have string variable is going to be equal to word like this, plus, and then word 2. So this may seem kind of confusing, but essentially what this is saying is that the string variable is going to be equal to one massive string, but we're adding segments of the string together at once. So if we print the string variable to the console, like this, and hit P, you can see it's going to print word 1 and word 2, because essentially this is just, like how I said earlier, it's not going to read it as two separate strings, but it's combining them to make one. Okay. Next, what we can do is we're going to do something with if and else statements. Now, if and else statements are going to determine whether or not something is equal to something or whether it's not equal to something. So we're going to have number is equal to 11 to start off, and let's have an if statement. So let's have if number is equal to 11. We're going to print is equal to, like this, or is equal. And since the number is equal to 11, and we hit P now, we can see it's going to print to the console is equal like this. Okay, but let's say that number is equal to 12 like this. It's not equal to 11 then, so if we hit P, we see nothing is printed to the console. That's where the else statement comes in. We're going to print is not equal. So if our number is not equal to 11, it's going to print is not equal, and it's not equal in this case. So as you can see, it's clearly going to print is not equal. Now what we can also do is change this variable. I'm gonna rename this to variable like this is going to equal false. Now what we're going to do is have if variable is equal to false. We're going to print false to the console, and if it's else, we're going to print true. And this is how if and else statements can work with Boolean operators. Is if we hit P now, we can see it has false right here. But if I change this to true, it's now going to print true to the console because our variable is now equal to true. So therefore, this if statement is false, but this one is correct. Okay. Next, what we want to do is actually use greater than or less than when we're dealing with a number. So let's have a variable called number. Whoops. Number is going to equal 10 like this. And let's have something like this. Let's have if number is less than, or how about greater than or equal to 11. What we're going to do is print, actually I'll take out this equal sign right here. If, and I'll put less than right here. If number is less than 11, which in this case it is, we're going to print less than. So if I hit P now, we can see right here it's going to print less than to the console because our variable right here, number, is less than 11. Therefore, it is going to print this to the console. Now, what I'm going to determine, I'm actually going to change this number right here to 10. And if we hit P, we see it's not going to print anything because number is not less than 10, it is equal to 10. But let's say we want to add this equal sign right here. This is essentially saying if 10 is less than or equal to 10. So if 10 less than or equal to 10, pretty much, it's going to print this to the console. And since it is, it's going to print less than, or actually I'll just add or equal to. Alright, and it prints that now. Okay. Now that we have this, what we're going to do is incorporate that. So I'll put less than 10 right here. And we'll add an else statement with this as well. And for inside, if so, in this case our number variable is equal to 10, but our if statement right here is asking if it's less than 10, which it isn't, so it's going to run this part right here. So if we hit P, we see it's going to print false statements because of this right here. Okay, next what we're going to do is do for loops. Now for loops are something that's kind of tricky, but what this is saying right here is let's just have a simple for loop. So let's have for x in range of 0, 5. We're going to print x. Now this is kind of a strange concept, but if I hit P now, you can see it's going to print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is essentially saying, and I'll actually type this underneath with a hashtag, it's essentially saying that for x, it's going to start at 0 and it's going to go until it reaches 5. So it's going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So every time this runs, so once it runs this line of code right here, x is going to plus 1, plus equal 1. So essentially it's going to go from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. And you know, the for loops are useful especially when you're doing things like adding health or something to a number. Like, I don't know, let's define a number at the top. I'll just define a number like this. And I'm going to have inside of this, actually wait, number is going to equal, let's say 25. And we're going to have number is going to plus equal 1, and we're going to print number to the console. So what should happen is if I hit P, you see it's going to go from 25 to 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, because it's going to run that 5 times. Okay. So this kind of is a confusing topic, and I'm really not sure how to describe this properly. But the only way I could think of it is, you know, if you've ever taken like calculus or anything like 0, 5, just between these two. I'll just put a hashtag to indicate that this is a note. So, you know, like if you needed to walk 5 feet, so you go from 0 feet to 1 foot, or meters or whatever, 0 meters to 1 meter to 2 meter to 3 meter to 4 meter to 5 meter. That's kind of how a for loop works. It's kind of an unusual topic, but it's useful for a lot of programming concepts. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is go over random numbers. So this may be kind of a confusing topic as well, but essentially, like, and I've used this a lot for things like, you know, adding ammo packs or something, is I'll randomize how much is added. So let's have import random at the top, because you need to import the random module. And let's do something like have a variable called number is going to equal 100. And what we're going to do is have number is going to plus equal a random.randint, and this random.randint is essentially saying it's going to add a random integer between, let's say, 5 and 15. So it's going to choose a random integer between 5 and 15 and add that to the number variable. So add random number to number. And if we print number to the console, both before and after, so I'll print number to the console up here, and I'll actually type in a string before, so I'll put before, comma, number, and after. So if I hit P now, we should see that before the number was 100 and after the number was 106. But I'm going to click these three dots right here and have it so it's going to run every, let's say, 15 frames. So if I hit play now, you should see that it's going to keep running this thing. And you can see before in the first one was 100 and then after was 113. Before was 100, after was 106. Before was 100, after was 112. Before was 100, after was 115. And you can see that's kind of how it's going to randomize a number. Okay, I know on this sheet right here it says I'm going to list. I'm going to do lists first, but I'm actually going to do the random choices from the list after we do the list itself. So what we're going to do is actually I am going to just get rid of everything right here really quick, and I'm going to define a list. So list is going to be equal to a random array of items, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is our list. If we print our list to the console, like this, we can see it's just going to print the entire list right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, what's cool about this, though, is that lists are kind of unusual in that they don't go in the way you'd think they would. So, list spot 1, so I'm just going to write a hashtag in front of this. So, you'd think that naturally when we call the item in the list that, you know, this first slot right here would be 1, but that's not how it works. Lists in general start off with 0. Start with slot 0. So what should happen is I'm going to print list and then 0 like this. And if I hit P now, we see it's going to print 1 to the console. But if I print list 1, it's going to read this 2 right here and prints 2. And this is evidence because if we do a for loop really quick, so I'll do for x in range of, you know, let's say 0, 5, like this, we can print list, x. And if I hit the play button now, you see it's going to print 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. But I'm actually going to add how about list like this. Then before this, we're going to print x. X. So if I were to hit P now, you'd see that the x variable inside of our for loop starts off at 0, but it's going to print the first item in list. And this, as x is 1, it's going to print 2. X is 2, list is going to print 3. X is 3, it's going to print 4. X is 4, and the list is going to print 5. So that's kind of how you get an object from a list like this. Now, the last thing I want to do for this video is actually get a random item from a list. So grabbing a random item from the list. And what we're going to do is actually create a new list. And we're going to call this, actually, let's import random first. And let's create a list called inventory. Is going to be equal to food, water, socks, and, you know, let's say hats. Alright? Now that we have those 4 items, what we want to do is have it so it's going to randomly choose one of those items inside the list. So let's have choice is going to be equal to random.choice inventory. So it's going to choose a random item within the inventory. And what we're going to do is print choice and then choice. So we're going to print the string choice and then whatever our choice variable is equal to. So if I hit the play button right here, you see it's going to print socks first, but if I click these first 3 dots and hit the play button, you see it's going to randomly choose an item from the inventory, whether it be water, hats, food, hats, socks, socks, hats, water, food. And that's how you can kind of see it's going to go through that list right here. Okay guys, that is probably all I'm going to go over today. I will be doing further of these tutorials in the future where I'll be going over random Python concepts, or just Python concepts in general. But for this video, I think I'll call it good. Alright guys, I hope you found something useful out of this video.